Okay, tonight's workshop is titled Augmented Reality, Bring Your Resume and Other Projects to Life with Zappar. And like I said, I am a graduate assistant for the Rutgers Libraries, and I'm actually part of the Margery Somers Foster Center, which is a unit of the libraries that focuses on teaching students multimedia skills, politics of visuality, and other ways to engage creatively in academic and personal projects. Okay, so just a little rundown of what we're going to be doing tonight. First, I'll talk about why you might want to do a project like this, give you a definition of augmented reality, and then I'm going to describe the functions of Zappar Hobbyist, which is the free level account for this website and app, the supplies you'll need, how you can set up your account, and then we'll talk over some tips about filming professional videos from home, and I'll show you a few examples of projects that I've made. And then we can have a discussion at the end about your ideas about how you might use this app in school or personal life. Okay, so why this project? So this app is a new platform, a new tool for creating exciting multimedia content. So what is multimedia? Multimedia means you're pushing together different types of content. So maybe it's text and sound, or video and sound, or it could be a physical made object that you're changing the light on in like a museum context or something like that. So multimedia just means you're using different formats in the same setting. And I also want you to learn how to take advantage of a free way to host this type of multimedia content that can be accessed via a QR or Zap code. So before I had started exploring Zappar and the Hobbyist account, I had never created something myself that used a QR code to be read. And QR codes, there'll be some later in the presentation, but it's a little black and white code symbol that has a unique pattern that's like a digital signature. And when it's scanned using a QR code app, which can be used to read it, or just the camera on any type of smartphone can be used to read QR codes. If you just open up your camera and direct it at a QR code, it will give you a little link to open that in a web browser on your smart device. So that's something that I didn't even know before getting into this either, that just the camera on a smartphone has this capability. You don't need some special tool. And then Zappar has unique designs for their codes called Zap codes, and it's just a different shape than the typical black and white checkerboard style QR code. But just to be able to experiment with these things and give it a try is a good reason to start using Zappar. And in terms of why you might want to use multimedia content combined with something like your resume, it's a marketing twist. It's a different way to share information about yourself or your organization in a memorable way. So resumes, there are a couple different ways to make them memorable, and I'm not a job seeking specialist. I won't try to give you too much advice, but I'll just say that if someone is looking at resumes that are all black and white text and very similar fonts and design, then there's no really memorable visual impact or emotional impact, which could contribute to the way that something like a resume is received, in addition to just the informational content that you're listing. Sometimes people recommend just using a little bit of color, or for certain job fields, especially creative pursuits, using a different layout than the standard top to bottom single column of text form might be good. So this is a way to have an entry point to using a little bit of a different style, a little bit of a marketing twist without changing up the core form and traditional form of a resume too much. But you could also use it in combination with other creative expressions for marketing yourself. Okay, so what is augmented reality, AR, versus virtual reality, VR? So augmented reality is digital information overlaid on a user's view of a physical environment. So nowadays, a lot of times when people are viewing things like a poster for an event or a resume, they will be doing it on a screen, but not in all situations. There is still some context for physical paper items that are dispersed to people to share information. And using the Zappar app, you can take a physical item and overlay digital information on it. You put the QR code on the physical item, and then when someone scans it, they're going to get this virtual overlay of something else happening that looks like it's transposed onto the physical item, even though that's just a simulation within the screen of the tool that they're using to view it. And augmented reality can provide real-time use of information in the form of text, graphics, audio, and other virtual enhancements integrated with these real-world objects. And it can be any technology that accomplishes these things. So augmented reality might happen with a smartphone, or it might happen with a specially formed pair of glasses, which it seems to be the push with virtual reality, is to create virtual reality environments where people can put on headsets and experience a different environment. But even something that is creating like a projection onto a wall is creating a type of augmented reality in a way, because you're seeing something other than the physical items that are actually in that space. And it is not a simulation of reality that creates a new environment. That's virtual reality. So augmented reality means that you're going to still be aware of what the core and actual physical environment is. And it's just, like I said, these overlays of other content. And if you want to look at how to explain augmented reality in plain English, which is where I got some of these points from, it goes a little bit more in depth. There's a link down at the bottom of the page that you could look at in the slide deck afterwards. Okay, so now let's talk about the functions of Zappar Hobbyist. So Zappar Hobbyist is for non-commercial use. So Zappar is a commercial company. Most of their clients are food companies that want to put augmented reality games or other types of content on like packages for different commercial products like cereal boxes and things like that. And so if you want to use Zappar for just experimentation and personal use, you can use the non-commercial form called Hobbyist. And it's also for educational use. And you will get 5 free projects with Zappar Hobbyist if you sign up, which means that you can only have up to 5 different QR codes out in the world, you know, that you've put on physical items and that people could scan. And those are recyclable. So let's say you made a resume with a Zap code and it had a cover letter of why you feel that you're a good match for a very specific job. Like if you talk about the company that you're applying to in that video that's on that resume. If you print out a physical resume with that code and send it off to that company, and then you went into the Zappar app and created a different video and a different cover letter for a different job and used the same project and used the same code, if that first person that you dispersed the code to on the physical item were to scan it, they would see your new thing. So if you're just experimenting, I think that the 5 projects is more than enough to get you started and try out some different things, and you can recycle them. If you don't like the content after you make it, you could change it. But if you're starting to actually use your Zap codes for personal or professional reasons where you're dispersing them, you can buy additional projects. So that might be a good idea so that you're not having people look at old content or get mixed up with things. And then ZapWorks Designer is the name of the platform or the website where you can build these projects. So Hobbyist is the account, Designer is the cloud-based software. So within ZapWorks Designer, you can stick content to an image of your choice, and you can customize the content and then add a Zap code to the image that you want to track. So like I said, with it being an overlay, the augmented reality material, you're not going to have your whole phone screen, let's say, filled up with this virtual content or augmented content. If you scan a Zap code, it's just going to overlay the content over a key image that you're going to create from your physical object. So I'll get more into that in a moment, but the types of things that you can add are videos, images, photo albums, sound, text, buttons, calendar events, contact info cards. One of my favorite things to use in Zappar so far has been the buttons, because the buttons, they can take you to a different website. And in the context of the things that I've been creating, you could create a button that sends the person that's viewing the content over to your LinkedIn page, or over to a personal website that has like a portfolio of things that you've created. Or if you're sending someone something there's an action item that you want them to do after they view the content, the button can be a quick link where, you say, click here to go to the Rutgers Library's website and check your account, or whatever. So the buttons are a good feature. Okay, so supplies you will need to create one of these Zap codes and augmented reality items is, first and foremost, a video recording device. So that could be a camera, a smartphone, or a webcam. And I actually should add to this list that it doesn't even have to be a camera necessarily, because one of the projects that I want to talk about includes screencasting, which is where you use a computer that doesn't have a camera, and it will take a recording of what's happening on your screen and turn that into a video file. And there are some different free tools that I'll tell you about to do that. And that might be a good idea if you're trying to show someone a digital project or a digital space that already exists, and you're just looking for a new way to convey that it's out there by putting it on a physical object and using this augmented reality process. You'll also need a professional setting and professional attire for your video if you're going to be in it. And this depends on context. I'm saying professional setting and attire for your video if you're making a video for a resume. But if you're going to be doing this for personal projects, your setting is up to you completely. And you'll also need a printer and paper, because the whole point of the augmented reality is to create something that's going to be a physical item that can have this augmented digital overlay. So in order to get the physical code onto the physical item, you'll need a paper and printer set up. And then down on the bottom right, I know that we are not able to go to campus right now, but in a couple of months, people will be coming back on campus a whole lot more. And I wanted to make you aware of this place called the One Button Studio in Alexander Library. So Alexander Library is the largest library on the College Avenue campus in Rutgers, New Brunswick. And this One Button Studio is a setup where there's camera equipment and a computer and a screen where you could register for a certain window to go use it and do some recording. You can plug in USB drives to the computer and get the content right from the camera onto your own personal media device to take home with you and use for whatever purposes. So if you don't feel that you have a professional setting to do a video of yourself, and you ever need to do some sort of presentation for school purposes, or just want to experiment with recording yourself and creating augmented reality content, for example, you can check that out in the future. And there is a link to the LibGuide that talks about the sign-up procedures, which, like I said, are not applicable right now. It's closed up, but hopefully that will be back open in the fall. Okay, for actually making your account with ZapWorks, I've set up some links in this page so that if you're looking to the slide deck afterwards, you can just click on here to go through and create your own. And you're going to have to scroll down past the starter, pro, and enterprise boxes until towards the bottom of the page, you'll see a link to the education and then hobbyist types of accounts, which is free, like I said, and you get up to 5 projects, and then you can click get started in there. And it is a little bit, you have to do some searching on the website to find it, but just follow these steps. And Zappar is a company that's trying to make money, so that's why they're trying to advertise and push these different paid level accounts before letting you know that there's actually a free version too. But if you start using Zappar and you really like it, then you can explore the pricing and see if perhaps for yourself or for your organization, it's worth it to invest in it. And it is a subscription-based pricing system. per year. And you might want to review, well, you should review the Hobbyist user agreement and privacy policy. And you'll need your email address to sign up. Once you get in, here is the dashboard, and this is for the ZapWorks designer.
Whitney, just a moment. Yena is she just trying to set up an account, but didn't need to go to the Starter Pro. But just when I got to the login, instead chose sign up, and that allowed me to select educator in the drop down.
Oh, okay, great. I should have tested out the website to make sure it was the exact same process today before starting the presentation. They must have recently updated it. I'm glad that it's a little bit more user-friendly to get that type of account set up now. So thank you for letting us know. And then once you get in, you can see right here that I have 3 projects going at the top, and there's the red circle with the plus sign in it where I could use that to create a new project. And if you're going to be using a subscription and a paid account for this and end up having lots of projects, there's a little search bar at the top where you can search for the titles of the different ones you've created to find them quickly. And there's different sort and filter features to organize them if you have lots. And you'll see down at the bottom that there's some videos. If you do want to use this app, which I hope all of you will at least give it a shot after this workshop tonight, it might be good to watch those videos. They're pretty short, I think just 2 or 3 minutes, that introduce you to the possibilities of ZapWorks, which is the part of Zappar where you could create virtual reality content, and then an introduction to Designer, which is what we'll be using for the augmented reality, and Studio, which is where you can use other types of files, including CAD files for 3-dimensional objects, or the seemingly 3-dimensional virtual objects in your augmented reality projects. Okay, and here's the pricing system. So after you start going and you've used up your 5 projects and you start dispersing those codes to people, if you want to buy more, it's a graduated pricing system where the more projects you buy at a time, the cheaper it is per project. And it's good to note down here in the bottom right corner, it lists what the project includes. So it has unlimited views, unlimited file storage, content hosting, and serving forever. At least that's what they're saying right now. So hopefully that's true. And you can use either ZapWorks Studio, Designer, or widgets. And those unlimited views are important, at least for me, because I'm viewing my content a bunch of times as I'm making it and deciding if I want to change things up. So if you had a limited number of views, that would not be good, but they don't have those types of restrictions on you. Okay, so the designer feature and platform is how you're going to stick content to an image of your choice. So after you create a new project with the red plus button, then you would select designer to do the types of things that I'm showing you tonight. And if you want to try experimenting with Studio and using 3D models, then I would recommend checking out this CG Traders website, which is licensable stock and custom 3D models, many of which are available for free. And you can filter on that website for free 3D model files of different objects. But Studio requires a software download and is compatible with Windows and Mac. So I am working off of a Chromebook, and that's why I have limited myself to Designer. But if you want to try Studio, then have at it. And once you create a new project, you've chosen Designer, then you're going to choose your trigger. So this is what I was explaining before about how there's the traditional design of a QR code, and then there are Zap codes, which are these lightning bolt shaped circle icons that have these little nibs around the edges. And those nibs are the unique digital signature that's going to be able to pull up your content project based on that unique code. The thing is with Zap codes, that someone would have to download the Zappar app to be able to read those, versus the web AR QR code is something that anyone can just launch using the camera on their smart device. It will prompt them to go into the Zappar website as the browser links out to the content if they're using this QR code feature, just because it's hosted through Zappar. It has to either be on their app or on their website in order for that access channel to be set up. And then there is also an image lookup option, but that's a little bit more advanced. The prices start at $8,000 if you want someone to be able to just point their smartphone at your image and have it start doing the augmented reality, or prompt that or trigger that activity right away. So that's for probably more commercial use. And something to consider is that using a Zap code may inhibit accessibility if people don't have the app or have trouble downloading it. If their software isn't updated on their phones and they're not able to get the app. So I lean towards using the web AR QR code for projects where the types of projects that you might be using and creating through Hobbyist are probably going to be one-offs. You make something, you send it, someone looks at it maybe like once or twice type of thing. At least that's the idea with like resumes and the other examples that I'll show you. The benefit of having the Zappar app and actually using Zap codes is probably for repeat customers and repeat projects, so more like their commercial use where they have different games that are on, like I said, cereal boxes. If the customer downloads the app once and knows that they are going to be able to have different augmented reality content every couple of months, when the product launches a new augmented reality feature on their product, then they might be more apt to actually take the time to get the app, make sure it's working, and recognize the Zap codes. Okay, and you can decide to use one or the other once you've already created your project. And you're going to download the code, and then you're going to place that code onto a key image. So when you're in Designer, over on the right-hand side where it says triggers, you can click on the QR code or the Zap code to download a file for those. And the key image is what you're going to be printing out, and it should be a replica of the physical object. So with like a resume, if you have a resume with a QR code in the top right corner, that's gonna create your Zappar content when someone scans it. Then if someone's holding the physical resume, you want your content to track to the resume. If you have a video that is oriented where the width is greater than the height, then you would only want your content to be tracked to, let's say, the top half of the resume, because the proportion of the dimensions would be proportional. So the key image for the resume that I've created a Zap code with is I took a screenshot of the Word file of this resume and then cropped that image to be just the top half of the resume, and then inserted the code onto the image. And then that image that has your tracked content and the code, you'll need to upload into the Designer and place it as your key image. But then for your actual physical resume, you don't have to print out the screenshot. You could just put the QR code on the Word doc, or in the PDF or whatever file format you use, and print it out so that the resolution is fine. You can still use your original file content. And you can use Photoshop or a free image editor to put the code onto the key image. So a really quick and easy way to do this that I really like is through Google Sheets, actually. So if you're in Google Sheets, in the top toolbar, and you go to Insert Image and you upload the key image, in this case, the screenshot that I've cropped to be just the top half of my resume, I would in that into I said sheets. Yeah, like the PowerPoint, like slides version. And you're going to put that image in there and then also insert the QR code and put it on top. And then if you go to File, Download, you can download just the current slide as a PNG image, and then you can upload that PNG image into Zappar as your key image. So Google Sheets is just an easy way to layer the key image and the QR code and combine those two things into one file. And Pixlr is a web-based free tool for doing similar things. Okay, so then here's the actual ZapWorks designer interface. So you'll see that it's very faded in the background right now, this key image of the top half of my resume, which I've inserted the QR code on. And then I pre-recorded a video of myself giving a little spiel about why I'm a great person to hire. And in this case, it's a video of my face and I am speaking to the viewer of the resume. And so over on the right-hand side, in order to get the video on there, I clicked the video button, and then it's first going to appear as a very small box right here in the top left corner. This black box represents the video file, and you'll see that there's little grayish blue squares on the corners that you can use to drag the content to make it larger. And in this case, I'm going to drag it to be the full size of the page with the half resume. And then down in the bottom left corner, you'll be able to do a sample play of your video. If you decide you want to replace the video, it's not very intuitive how to always delete things in this at first. You can either use the replace video button to substitute out a new video, or you can click on the video up in the top section and then use this little garbage can icon that's very small up here in the top right corner under where it says grid. And you can see back down in the bottom left corner the different controls for the video content. I love to put play at start, because if someone is not used to using QR codes and they've scanned the QR code and now they're waiting for something to happen, it's easier if it's just automatically rolling after they open the browser. So playing on start so that they don't have to realize that it's a video and that they should press a play button is probably a good idea. Looping the video, that's up to you. If you think that there was a lot of technical content that someone might want to listen to again, then looping the video might be good. Or if it's for personal use and it's an amusing video, looping might be good. Just a personal preference. Hiding controls, that might be a good one as well, because like I said, someone might not be used to scanning a QR code and having this content appear on their device automatically. And if they accidentally hit like the pause button or like the close button, then the whole thing would fall apart. So hiding controls could be beneficial. And allowing saving to device, depending on who your audience is and what the type of content you're publishing is, that might be an option that you would want to use. The only one that is automatically selected out of these properties for a piece of video content is pause other media. So let's say someone was listening to a podcast or music or something like that, it would automatically pause those other audio and video features on their phone when they're viewing it. And then over on the right-hand side, where there's that video button, there's all the other buttons for the different types of content that you might want to add. And you can add as many pieces to this project as you want. And so if you click a button, then it will ask you to put in a URL of where the button is going to take someone, and you can change the text of what the button does. You could put in a little contact object where it's just a preset object that has space for, name, phone number, address, those types of things. And down in the bottom right corner, or in the middle of the bottom, you can see that there's scene properties. So if you're using multiple video components, then you can have them transition with like a fade, or where one video slides down from the top, different transitions that you might be used to from a PowerPoint context. So if you have a couple of snippet videos that are very short and you want those to blend seamlessly, you can use those transition items, and you can rearrange the videos into different orders in that gray box. If there are multiple videos, you could drag them around. So this is the interface. I hope that you guys will experiment with it afterwards. Up in the top right, you'll see that there's the red publish button and the white preview button. Like I said, after you publish something, you can still edit the content, and then in order for it to go live and become attached to your Zap code or QR code, you just hit the publish button again, and it will refresh it, and you can keep using that project over again.
Whitney, one quick question.
Sure.
From Lena. So we download the PNG, right, onto our machines, and then we upload into Zappar Designer. Is this just a question of dragging to this space?
Oh, for the key image.
Yeah.
I think
the question was like, so I was playing around with it. So the way you got it to be in the background, because I played around with it too, and I just did a button and put in a picture, whatever. But how because it appears to be in the background now, right? And you have your video floating on top, so to speak. So how did that happen?
Did you have a key image that you did upload already?
I did upload an image. I did button first, and then I did an image, and they're kind of, and I didn't make it as large as you did, so it's kind of, they're just next to each other. But there was nothing specific that you did to make it, because I can't make one of them become the background. But we can save that to, it doesn't have to be answered now at all. If you want to go on with your presentation, we can just save that to last.
Let's go on, and then at the end, I'll go into the website and check it out, because I think that I left out a crucial step. I believe that when you first create the project on that home screen where it said that you could, download the trigger, I'm wondering.
I did skip that thing, and I just went straight to design, open designer. So that may have been it. So
yeah, I'll find where exactly you put in your key image.
Thank you.
Yep. Here's just a little bit of a zoom up of what I was talking about, a closer view of the different video properties that you can click on and off, the actions for if you have a button will look like this over on the right side. It's going to do a unfinished link to, or go to scene, or host app message. Those are the different options for what's going to happen at the end of your content. And then you could create or put in the URL for the button. In the bottom left, that's where you can control the transitions. So there's different style directions for the transitions, and you can choose how long you want that transition to last for in seconds. And for the video content, you can add different frames to it, the appearance. You can change the color and the design, or for image content as well. If you're adding just plain images, you can add these frames with appearance. Here is the button part. And so here are the button options: go to scene, link to, dial telephone number, compose email, save contact, add to calendar, user file upload, and host app message. So if you're using this for resume purposes, I think the link to one is going to be the most useful. I've also heard that if you're going to use this for something like a birthday card, you could link to like Amazon and like a wish list feature, where someone could put in a present that they want or something like that. And for dial telephone number, the app will connect to, if you're using this on a phone, your phone's calling capabilities, and you can make it really simple for someone to call like that. So those are some of those options. Okay, so this dotted red line on the resume on the left is where I cropped for the key image. And then if you guys want to mute yourselves, and if you have a phone on you, I'll give you like 15-20 seconds to scan the QR code on the screen with your device. And then after you scan it in just the camera on your device, then hover over the resume on the left so that the resume takes up most of your field of view, but not the whole thing. And that will show you what this tracking does. So I'll give you a second to try that if you want to. But in case you're not doing that, I'll just describe what would happen. The video will stay within that boundary of where the little dotted red line is as you're pointing the camera at the object. So ideally this would be a physical paper resume. If someone could scan the code and then they're holding their phone like over the resume, and the video would track to the top half. So if it's laying on the table and they're pointing their device at it from an angle, the video is going to be at kind of like this angle so that it only appears on that place where the tracked image is. And in this case, for this personal statement for my resume, I felt comfortable doing something like this for the fields that I'm in. Working in libraries is something where people in this field have to interact with the public and engage with communities. And so public speaking is a component of that. But depending on your field, putting something with video with your face in it might be unprofessional, or just depending on the type of things that you decide to say in a video might or might not be ideal for your professional field for a place like a resume. And in terms of the QR code leading to a video that does show who you are, there are some people that say that you shouldn't include a picture on your resume. I think that's a standard best practice to not include a picture. For non-discrimination purposes, a lot of companies will say that if there's a picture on resume, they have to discard it immediately because they don't want there to be bias in the hiring process based on someone's appearance. So this is a step removed from that. You're not putting a physical picture of yourself that the person who's reading your resume has to look at, but it does link to a video of yourself. So you might want to consider if there's risk in that, and if you think the type of company that you're applying for might discredit your application because you shared too much. In the case of this one, there's a little bit of text that I wrote under the QR code. I just use a text box for that in Word before I downloaded the resume as a PDF. And it says, scan with camera on a smartphone to meet the face behind the name. So in that case, I'm indicating to someone that if they use this code, they are going to see my face. But you could also write something like scan code to see personal statement. Giving a little description about what that code is for is probably going to be a good idea because the person receiving your resume might not have seen this type of content added to this type of document before. Some other ideas for a resume or cover letter using Zappar are things like if you have a digital presence in some other way, especially if you have your own personal website that includes your CV and links to digital projects that you've done and testimonials from people that you've worked with. If you've already got that type of content alive on the web, then you could make the most of it by at least giving someone who's reviewing your application materials the opportunity to access it through something like Zappar. So, you could say under the little code, scan for virtual portfolio or scan for tour of my virtual projects. And in these cases, it really doesn't have to be a video of yourself. You could do something like a screencast where if someone scans the code, then the video could be a screencast of you walking through a website and narrating with your voice the different content that you've created and explaining how you created certain things or what you found rewarding about the type of work, or how you think it's applicable to the job description of what you're applying for, things like that. So if you've never created a screencast before, you can use this link after the presentation to go to the Beginner's Guide to Screencast-O-Matic's free screen recorder. And that's just one free screencasting tool that I've found works pretty well. There are other ones out there that you could explore if you're looking to do a screencast to use in your augmented reality projects. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to stop screen sharing for a moment and actually do like a demo, because I'm not sure if you guys actually got to see this one or not. Stop share. Okay, so if you want to use the little pin button that's in the top left corner of my video, then that will pin me as the largest one so that you can see this a little bit better. But right here, I've got a birthday card. So here's an example of a way that you could use Zappar for personal reasons. The card is something that I printed out on a piece of letter paper, standard letter size paper. Here's a little template for the card. So out of these 4 sections that I got by folding a piece of paper in half and then in half again, when it's fully open, this bottom right-hand corner is going to be the front of your card when you fold it up. This is going to be the inside left, so like what someone is viewing on the left when they open it, and the inside right. Those are upside down compared to the front bottom right. So this little template is in the slide deck as well, but if you've never made a card with a piece of copy paper, then you will have a guide as to how to do that so that everything lines up right for you when you fold it up. So in this case, I did 2 types of printed content on this card. So this picture of a ginkgo leaf on the front is something that was just a vector image, black and white, that I found for free using Google, and it was just the outline of the leaf. And then I used some text. I said, on your birthday, I just wanted you to remember. So those I put in the Word document, and then the colors are things that I used watercolor paints for after I had already printed this out. On the inside, I've got printed a key image of myself holding some balloons, and the QR code is on top of the image. So this is going to be your standard key image type of situation where it's actually a physical picture that you're adding the code to. And so now I'll show you how it gets read. So let's see. Okay, so if I have my smart device and I hover it over the QR code, this is going to take a little bit of maneuvering. Then I'm getting a link at the top that says open webxr.run in Safari. So I'm going to click that link. And then because I don't have the Zappar app downloaded on my phone, I wanted to show you guys what someone who doesn't have the app would be experiencing. They're going to have to push launch in order to view it. So hopefully they agree to that in order to see your content. And then it's asking for access to the camera. I'm going to allow that. And it wants access to motion and orientation. So I'm going to allow that. And then I want my key image to still be back here because the content is getting tracked to the card. You can see as I move the card around, the video is holding on to that key image. That's what the tracking means. And that's what we want. If you remove the key image from the field of view of the camera, whatever content you created for your project is just going to go full screen in the middle of the device. Which is good. So if someone doesn't realize that they could and should still hover over the key image so that it gets that tracking feature, they can still experience the content. It'll just go full screen. And while the tracking is, I think, the most interesting part of this, this is just a good way to get content to someone without them having to type in a URL and make sure that they have the web address correct and worry about things like that. So an idea for a project using Zappar that I think might be applicable to students is if anyone here is in like a student group, if you're in a student organization like a club and you're having events and you want people to be attending those events, especially once people get back to campus, there is still some value in physical communication items such as flyers. So if you had a picture of the president of your club on a flyer, and then you had a QR code there, and if someone had done a recording of the president of the club describing what the club does and why you should join it, if someone scans that code and then keeps their phone pointed at the flyer, it could make that picture that's on the flyer come to life and turn into a video content that could be tracked to give someone a description of the club. So that's another idea for how this could be applicable to different project types. I actually had the volume off when I was showing you guys that one. So, let me get back into it for a moment, because in this case, the reason I wanted to do augmented reality for a birthday card was because I figured that it would be good to have singing in a card. You can pay $8 for a card that sings to somebody and plays music, but you can also do that for free and use your own lovely voice or music files. So let me just see. Happy birthday. Okay. Well, I'm going to rescan because what's happening here? So because I closed out of the app by locking the screen, I had to re-allow access to the camera. It's temporary, so I'm just going to do that right now. It's scanning the code. Let me go back to the camera and scan it. Okay, so this time, this is going to have some audio.
Kings and queens and bishops too, they want to wish the best to you. So wish day, wash day, what do you say? Birthday, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, I think you guys get the picture. I thought that this would be a fun idea for, especially during the past year when people haven't been able to celebrate as many birthdays as they would like to in person with friends and family. Virtual reality, augmented reality is perhaps a unique way that you can connect with people that you care about through fun content like this. And I'm going to go back to screen sharing for a moment, and we're almost done, and then we'll discuss if you guys have ideas for projects. Okay, so if you want to reference this template, if you're trying to create a birthday card afterwards, come back to the slide deck and give it a look. Like I said, in the bottom right is going to be the front of the card, and in the top left, upside down, is going to be the interior right side of the card. And those dotted lines are just to give you a little understanding of how it's going to fold up into fours. Okay. And so like I was just showing you, the content will go full screen in the middle if someone's not pointed at the tracking image. But the whole idea is that hopefully they will keep pointing their device at the tracking image. And so it's nice to have the tracking image be the same dimensions as your main content, whether that be a video, or if you're going to be doing something like images and like a photo album, then you would want the outside frame to be the same size as the tracking image, and then keep all of your content within those dimensions. over in this middle one, you can see where the video is a little bit wider and a little bit shorter than the key image. So it will still track to that area of your physical item, but it just looks a little bit cleaner if they're the same dimensions. Here are some tips for filming professional videos from home if you want to do something like a personal statement for a resume, like I was talking about before. So the first thing that you're going to want to worry about is lighting. You want the light to be in front of you. Light behind you is going to create shadows on your face, and it could also just be distracting. So in addition to turning off lights that are behind you, you might want to be aware of where windows are behind you. Windows are during the daytime are the brightest source of light in most homes. So having like a blank wall with no windows and open doors behind is going to be helpful. In terms of framing, just be aware of what is visible in the video frame, and is that adding or distracting to your content. For myself, doing these workshops, I'm aware that it's a little cluttered in my room behind me, but I'm okay with the types of items that are back there. I've got my lamps and a desk full of books and some wall art and things like that. I always check before I start filming a video that I don't have, garbage or pets hanging out in the background that are going to be distracting. And you can also use things like, Zoom backgrounds, and with Rutgers accounts for Zoom, you can create your own Zoom meetings, and then you could just have a Zoom meeting of just yourself. And when you're setting up the meeting, there's going to be different settings, and you're going to have the option of recording the meeting, which is what I'm doing for this workshop tonight. You could do that for, a little 2-minute meeting of just yourself where you're giving a personal statement. And then when you go into your Zoom account, you'll have the option of downloading that video file, and that could be what you use in Zappar. You don't have to have, some fancy cameras and video editing software and equipment in order to make these types of things. It's as simple really as having a Zoom account and downloading that video. And noise is something to be aware of. So when you're filming a video, turn off noisy equipment when possible. Prepare people that you're living with to say, I'm filming, could you stay out of here for X amount of time, or just make them aware so that you're not getting people shouting in the background or something and then having to refilm a bunch of times. If you just prepare the environment and everyone in it for what you're about to do, hopefully it'll be a little bit easier to create video content. And pay attention to repetitive noises that are outside of your control, especially if you live in more urban environments. You might not always be aware of how many extra noises are in your environment that just go under the radar for you, but that if you have a video recording might be distracting. So things like, police sirens or a garbage truck or a bird outside your window. If you know that those things happen around a certain time of day, more so than other times of day, you might want to adjust your schedule to minimize those distractions. Okay, so I'll stop screen sharing again now, but here are the discussion questions. I'm wondering what types of projects you can imagine using this tool for, if you think that school, work, or personal would be your preference and where you'd want to start. And regarding the use of AR, what role would the real world play in this experience? Who are your target users? And how will the content be shared or displayed? So for all of those questions related to either school, work, or personal, if you have ideas about who your target users could be, how you could use real world environments and augment them with Zappar, I would love to hear you guys out loud, or you can drop answers in the chat as well. So let me stop sharing. Oh, and I'm going to drop this survey link in the chat as well in case you want to just open it up on your browser now in case you want to do it later. This last slide, when I share the slide deck, you can come back to. It has a little survey link and a link to the website for the Margery Somers Foster Center. Okay.
Thank you, Whitney. And I think we would love to hear from you, you all, whether this could be useful for in your life, either for resume or for club activity or any other uses that we have not been aware of.
Yeah, what do you guys think?
I know there are a lot of students here that work for the libraries. Does anyone see any use of this for the libraries, for example, for your work or?
Let's see, is anyone?
It seems the only limit here might be your imagination, right? This, yeah, this is a great tool, and I have to say you did a really great presentation, Whitney. Very, very thorough and nice and calm, so that everyone could, didn't rush through anything.
Yeah, following along, I hope.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Oh yeah. So Ni thinks that it's more suitable for personal, just sending a card to friends.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a fun use of it. And it's a good way to just test it out, see if people will actually scan the code and if they'll get that it's tracking, because the people that you communicate with regularly anyways, you could get some feedback on your Zappar projects and make someone smile. So I think that using it for friends.
Yeah, thank you, Ni. We hope you'll be able to use it to send birthday card to friends or just a card to check how they are. Especially in these days of COVID, it's nice to receive something in the mail, right?
Right, yeah, definitely.
Lena, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was also thinking being that I'm an art history student, so a lot of stuff requires papers and then also presentations. So this would be cool, a cool tool because it incorporates both that video aspect and then the written aspect as well. To have it a video in certain places or even just an overall presentation linked to the paper. That'd be really cool.
Oh, thank you for the feedback, Sundhya. So we hope it's going to be useful for your classwork or even personally.
Yeah, and like you said about combining these different types of content in one place, I mean, ideally, you would be able to submit a physical paper, and if you had a Zap code in it, someone reading the paper could scan it and the content could pop up. But it is also possible to use Zappar and have these tracked augmented reality content with digital files. If you have a PDF of a paper, if you take a screenshot of part of the paper, use that as your key image, then people can still access it that way. And you can use all those different tools, the buttons, the videos, the sounds, to create something that you might not be able to just naturally have in a PDF or Word file type.
So I have to ask the teacher, the professor here. So Lena, do you think that could have a potential use for when you teach resume writing to your students?
Absolutely think so. I am going to reach out to two former students that I have that are in the packaging engineering program. And so they're on the engineering side, but they're also on the design side. It's a very interdisciplinary program, and especially the two students I have in mind are extremely artistic and design oriented. So for them, and one actually now took the year off because of COVID, and she's in an internship for Apple. Unfortunately, not in California. She had to stay in New Jersey because of this. So that was a bummer. But I could definitely see them, when you talk about who is this applicable to, you really using in your resume. So for someone it would really, and they have websites with their design work, it would really augment their applications, significantly. for myself, I see on, and I would also, I would actually, I was just sitting here thinking that this is something that I could tack on, because everyone's not going to be into this. I mean, I love stuff
Right.
like this, and I'm into graphic design and all that, but all my students will not. They will be a burden. But it would be, you know, it could be used as extra credit. And then offering other students that are not into it something else, so to make it fair, you know. But I could also see, because I do a lot of volunteer work myself, for nonprofits and fundraising for them.
Okay.
And as you said, for event purposes, this is great, you know, just to have a little video, or who we are, or what are we trying to do here now. It's awesome. It's a great tool, and you know, it's free. And
Right.
you would use, and I do use a lot of QR codes for our posters, just to, you know, bring someone to a, you know, a specific website about what we're doing, whatever. But you know, this yeah, this is great. Unfortunately, I have to say, as I was scanning your code before, to your, I never got to your video. It kept, and I used an iPhone, and it kept doing, you know, it kept going to the, I went to the web, I got to the Zappar site, and when I clicked it, it just kept, you know, I got that little, the same as you got when you were showing the birthday card, but it never went to the video. It wouldn't do it for whatever reason. So I never saw your video, but I would love to see it.
So the Zap code, like it will only work with the QR code if you start from the camera. And so I think if
that's what I did. I didn't.
It must
just
have
like
triggered. It must have triggered like scanning once it got into the browser, which is what happened the second time that I tried to look at the birthday card. In which case, it only wants that lightning bolt shaped Zap code.
So that came up, but it wouldn't go to your, you know, your resume, but whatever. It's
Okay.
But it was no, this is great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for your feedback. It's very valuable for us to hear what you all think about it and how useful it is or not. So it's great to hear these feedbacks. Thank you, everyone.
I'll give you one more feedback, actually, because I almost didn't go to this. I love the topic, but you know, I'm sure the students don't mind at 7 o'clock, but I have a hungry family that seem to be incapable of feeding themselves tonight for whatever reason.
Oh no.
And you know, so I love going to workshops in the middle of the day, or at 3 o'clock or whatever, when a lot of them. So that would be my other feedback. If you do this again, or a more advanced version or whatever, I'm sure there was a good reason for doing it in the evening, but you know,
no,
I'm tired at this time, and everyone's hungry.
I know.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
that's good feedback, and you know, I'd consider just doing it maybe 2 times in quick succession, maybe in the same week, a daytime and a nighttime, to hit different people's schedules and their availability. So.
Awesome, because I'm definitely going to share this with with, as I said, former students, but also with some of my colleagues that are like me. They like to try new things, and yeah, it's just awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I did just go into the ZapWorks website, and after I created a new project, the first thing after I said, okay, I want to use the Zap code, blah, 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 designer, it pops up with a box that says, getting started with designer, start without a tracking image or download your Zap code. And then it gives you like a little 5-step thing: getting started, download your Zap code, upload your tracking image, analyzing your tracking image to make sure that the contrast is all right, and reviewing the tracking image. So
I opted not to do the Zappar code, because I was like, no, I want to use the QR to make it accessible for everyone. So maybe, and then it said, do you really want to do it without? I'm like, yay. But maybe that was the thing, you know?
So it says Zap
you know,
code, but you could still use the
QR
QR code
yeah, that's what
at
I
that
figured.
first stage. But I'm looking right now. I just X out of it because I'm wondering how you get it if you accidentally cancel. And I'm not seeing that this moment, but I will explore it, and I can email you, Lena, and I'll add that in the email to everyone that has the slide deck and the presentation link.
So thank you, Whitney. And we really hope you'll be able to fill up the survey at the end, because in addition to the feedback that you already gave us, if you have any additional information, please share that with us, because we're always interested in hearing from you and to always improve or offer things that are of your interest.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.